Stepping into the first week of the lecture, Dr. Gardner introduced the themes and philosophy of the unit to the students.
Understand the different elements of tacit and explicit systems knowledge, how they can be combined through good organisational design, solving complex problems, and how do we use knowledge as a source of competitive advantage. And finally, hopefully, by the time you finish this unit, you'll gain a little bit of insight into yourselves.
The introduction considers history of knowledge advancement, current and emerging future knowledge as the basis for competitive advantage and innovation in organizations and nations. This will be illustrated through scenarios downloaded from YouTube and developed by students for the Work 2020 exercise in weeks 1 to 7.
You get a scientific problem combined with a problem that involves complex interactions between people. That's a wicked problem. So we'll have a bit of a look at how knowledge management looks at that. And we're going to have a look, as I mentioned, at past knowledge. So how come the Romans were so good? The Romans were pretty good, good engineers. Had this empire thing happening for a while until they got a bit too decadent and drunk too much and got too debauched, and the whole thing moved east and collapsed. But they had a good time for quite a while. And that was based on largely technical superiority. They had better equipment, they had better organisation, they had better governance than the other countries around them. They were very much a military culture, and they basically had the advanced technology of the time, which gave them considerable advantage over their enemies. So past knowledge is important. In fact, when ships used to come into the Roman grain port of Ostia, they used to tie up all the ships, take all the books off, and actually have scribes transcribing everything that was in these books and putting them back on the ships before they sailed off. That way they captured the knowledge of the empire. So they were doing knowledge management even back then. Reflective practice is about reflecting on various insights you've gained from your management practice. Things that worked, things that didn't work. Why? Debriefing on incidents. The Army uses it all the time. The SAS uses it, because if a mission goes wrong, you've got to debrief in that mission. You can't cover things up, because if you cover up what went wrong, how are you going to learn and avoid that situation in the future?
Although week 1's tutorial is generally relaxing, different national scenarios from Singapore and China and documentaries such as William Gazek's Future by Design were played to inspire students to imagine a series of alternative futures. Then it's time for students to introduce themselves.
I thought it got off to a pretty good start. They sound fairly engaged. There's always a little bit of chaos, like life. But it's really important that they understand that this is a personal thing. It's not just about learning some stuff and regurgitating it in an exam. It's about something that will hopefully influence their lives in the future, change their thinking a little bit. So hopefully they're starting to get a sense of that. Factors that represented technology in the year 2020. Yep. Different characteristics of the economy. So I'm just looking for you to do something similar, and once you've agreed on what your scenario is, what you would say the characteristics of the economy are going to be, your best guess, what you're going to, and you're going to say that technology is going to look like. Once you've got all these factors bedded down, you then have to get your heads together, thinking about what we've done in the lectures about intellectual capital, digital technology, creative business models. You're supposed to be doing some reading as well, Yeah. Taking that reading, taking that thinking and thinking about how can we make up a business that would work in this environment.
After the relaxing week 1, it's time to get things started. Students are splitting themselves into teams to get the Work 2020 presentation ready in the coming few weeks, combining scenario buildings with rich picture of the future and visualization of future enterprise and the role within it. Hamada was one of the students studying this unit. We'll follow his journey and his developments. Approaching week 3, the focus turned to creation of rich pictures illustrating the features and symbols of the world of 2020 and the characteristics of the imagined future enterprise within this environment. To assist with the childlike suspension of disbelief, 6-year-old Andrew Davis was brought in to stimulate the students' creativity and judge the final crayon drawing.
Oh, you've got a very good.
Those are fans up there, and that's something that delivers the stuff. Those are a few little robots, and those are a few little guards to make sure.
To make sure the pollution's taken away?
Yeah.
Wow. What made you
And
think
those
of
are
this
some
one?
little shops.
Are you thinking that in the future there'll be a lot of pollution in the world?
I'll say yes.
After the sharing, students presented their own ideas about the future worlds and enterprises to the class.
The different things I kind of put down were, say if you're sitting in a lounge chair, you're riding a bike kind of thing at the same time, so you're generating your own energy, and that powers your TV or whatever you're doing at that specific point in time. Another thing we thought of was, you know how in aeroplanes the toilets are just kind of suction, so integrate something like that into houses and stuff, so saving water.
I think by bringing in young Andrew, we changed the atmosphere. We created an environment which allowed the students to be creative. As I mentioned, in management and organisational situations, we're not rewarded for that behaviour, and very often we don't exhibit it.
In a blink of an eye, week 6 has come by. Hamada and his group has just finished presenting their Work 2020 presentation based on their role as knowledge professionals of the future.
Thinking about the future in 8 years, because we had to do best analysis for the future, and I never thought about it before. Like, I studied all my units at university, and we always do a current best analysis, and this unit asked the unit coordinator, Scott Gardner, asked us to think about the future, to imagine the future in 2022, and it was very interesting and nice, and it's good actually to open a student's mind to think about the future.
After the presentation, Hamada has gone to the library to continue his work on the individual essay assignment.
I've been working these assignments for 2 weeks, and I found it very challenging, and I had to do lots of research to think about knowledge management and HR practices and combine them together and see how can we integrate knowledge management into organization, and how also can we change the level of productivity by implementing knowledge practices.
The good news is that Hamada was able to hand in his assignment on time after an extensive amount of effort and curtailment of his social life.
So what we'll do is we'll go through these slides very quickly, spot the difference between Australian university, public university, and I'm not a big privatisation guy. I'm not got any ideological leanings one way or another. I'm just saying, for what we're trying to achieve vis-a-vis sending students out into the knowledge economy with the right kind of knowledge, with the right kind of skills, with the right kind of outlook, you tell me which one's better. Disseminate knowledge. What we've got to do is publish in more journals, which will be read by you. You, well, only for assignments though, right? You're not going to be going home. The minute that assignment's finished, how many more journals are you going to read in your life? As managers, oh my word, I must go down the local newsagent and see if my Academy of Management journal has arrived. I've been waiting all week for it. I'm so excited. Not going to happen, is it? Right. Well, managers are the same. I'm the same. You know, I'll cherry pick the stuff that's good, but I don't read 90% of it. I just go, right, that looks good. That's good. I'll get the bits that I'm interested in. I just won't read it for the sake of reading it. Now, that is the model for disseminating knowledge in universities, or one way of doing it. You publish and you put it out. And now, in areas like sciences and medical sciences and so on, having peer-reviewed articles to demonstrate that you've done independent, third-party research using rigorous methods is a very important thing. And it's a very important thing for universities to do generally. Don't get me wrong.
Stepping into week 8, the discussion continues to turn to designing organizations to support knowledge creations and innovation, which lead to a question: why do you study business? What kind of future career do you aspire to? And what kind of knowledge, skills, relationships and personal insight would require?
So maybe it's a reflection on the fact that you're all actually turned up today, that you seem to all be people who've got a bit of direction you sort of get some sense of what you're looking for.
Basically just interested in management and how the way things work, how people interact, and how you actually lead people.
Yeah.
Like all the theories and how you actually put them into application.
So it kind of makes sense that we have to do things a bit differently if we're going to stay in step or stay ahead of the rapid changes out there in the global environment. And one of the places that should help you do that, which a place that you've made a big investment in coming to in terms of time and effort and money, is the university. So surely universities should be knowledge centres and not just disciplinary fiefdoms organised around traditional ways of thinking about knowledge. That's the core argument.
So how does it work, and how does the university decide what we learned and how you learn it? Is the university designed as a knowledge centre or learning organisation, or just a reporting and fee-gathering bureaucracy?
The university decides what's good for the students, and then the students come and learn according to course structures and unit structures that are designed with a bunch of assumptions sitting behind them about what is good for you and what is relevant out there. And we can say that most universities are organised as functional hierarchies. So you've got all the different disciplines and all the different faculties, for instance. So there's social sciences and biological sciences and business and law and IT. It's a way of organising things. It's not necessarily the best way to organise things, but it's for administrative convenience rather than optimal knowledge flows. Thinking that we are learning at university is still about putting things in compartments. So you learn this unit, and then you learn this unit, and there's a bit of knowledge, and there's a bit of knowledge, and there's a bit of knowledge. You put them all together, and you'll know something called business, and then you'll go out and be able to do it. Neatly organise themselves around your course structure. The problems aren't going, oh, right, we better organise ourselves around the assumptions that the university academics have made about how they're going to set up a course. Let's just do that. You know, we want to make life easier for everyone because we are nice problems. It doesn't work like that.
Week 12 is approaching as time flies, and it's time for the class to recap what they've learned this year. Dr. Gardner distributes some exam hints and tips to focus energies and reduce the anxiety levels of the students.
Can you see through this? No. Okay. So some are two-part. The philosophy question is a two-part question, and it links the idea of data, information and knowledge to the idea of tacit and explicit knowledge. So,
as you can see, the final tutorial could arguably be one of the best in attendance records.
The exam is relatively difficult, but what I do is I use adult learning principles where in week 12, I give them, as you'd be aware, a lecture which talks about the main themes that are coming up in the exam. So it doesn't give them the questions, of course, but it gives them the opportunity to be really focused in their preparations. So the idea is the exam is relatively difficult, except for the fact that they only have to do 3 questions out of 5. So they're fairly testing questions, and it's hard to get high marks in it. But I do give them a pretty fair indication of the material that they should read at least 2 weeks in advance of the exam.
It's just days after the university exams. Dr. Gardner is working to mark all his exam papers, while most students are probably having a good time. He mentions his friend's marking dog that died of exhaustion.
The exam is usually what sorts out the men from the boys, or the ladies from the girls. People can do quite well in assignments 1 and assignments 2, and then do incredibly badly in exams. It happens to mature students a lot. They've got a bit of a problem with exams sometimes. Or you've got the people that surprise you, the people that don't seem to do too well for most of the semester, don't necessarily contribute all that much in class, but then remarkably come through with, almost suspiciously good exam marks. But there's not much scope for cheating in exams, so you have to treat these things in good faith. And sometimes it's just students are, perhaps international students, who are more keyed into studying specifically for exams.
So the semester is finally over, but there is a productive way of marking the end of it. The Work 2020 seminar allowed the top students in a unit from Singapore and Perth to present their own reports to a judge panel of invited entrepreneurs and academics.
The final presentations of the scenarios for how the world's going to look in the year 2020. how the enterprises are going to operate, or particular enterprises are going to operate, and the roles of particular students within those enterprises. Very pleased to introduce the Perfectionetics, very aptly named, I'm sure. We've got Alina, Griselda and Daphne are going to present their view of the future today. We've also got 3 panellists who are going to give them some feedback on their work. We've got Mr. Paul Quartermain, David Zhang and Warren Reed.
All laying around.
Looking into the camera as we speak. Okay, Perfectionetics, you've got 12 minutes and up to 8 minutes for questions and answers. Take it away.
Okay, so good afternoon. This is the group Perfectionetics, as you know, and the group, as Scott presented, is Daphne, Alina, and myself, Griselda. And the company that we want to introduce you is Perfectionetics, and it's all about insurance. And we have.
I'll do this if you like.
Thank you.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so as Alina has a specialization in designing babies and genes, she knows everything about how human can be better in the future. And Daphne is everything related to genes, but she specializes in everything to do with illness. She wants to improve the human being in the future. Joshua is not here today, but it's everything to do with intelligence. Okay, what we want to do with Perfectionetics is having a better society. And how can we accomplish this? Obviously, having a better human. And when we mean humans, having better genes without illness, smarter people, and who can live longer.
Well, no, because you've now created this situation where I don't need to let go because you can give me an injection.
I'm 75 and I'm like that.
I can be valuable. And I think you need to be aware that when this happens, you are going to be overrun. You're going to have to find a way to deal with the fact that a large percentage of your clientele are going to be old bastards wanting to extend their life and the quality of their life.
That's right.
Let alone the baby stuff. It's going to be the rich old people saying, help me live longer.
They've got the money and they want to stay alive.
Yeah.
Have you watched that movie called Timeless?
Yes. So, have fun. But, well done. And I'm sorry for giving you...
Perhaps the most interesting presentation is from Murdoch's partner school, Kaplan, Singapore, where understanding and creating the future is considered an essential survival skill.
Helps distinguish human waste without use of clean water for flushing, so it gets rid of one of the more difficult problems we have in our society. Comes in liquid form with various scents to eliminate odours, so there'll still be a nice little odour reduction. Energy saving. Innovative solar energy, solar panel microchips can be used to recharge most electronic devices, and energy can be stored for later use. So these are all things that we're familiar with, but they brought them together under one sort of green business umbrella. Employee roles, Yvonne Conrad, Chief Executive Officer. Now this is where, of course, I'm just really guessing, but they do strategic planning of the business, makes the key decisions, and the reason that Yvonne has been promoted to that lofty position is that she's got leadership skills and a passion for saving the earth. So she's got a good combination there. Melissa Lim, Chief Innovation Officer, which is very much a knowledge-based. Did you have a question there, Luca? Or are you just doing that?
Yeah.
Doing this. Provide creative and innovative ideas, product development, and the reason that she's got a chemical engineering background and she thinks outside the box. So she's got a good profile as a knowledge worker. And Michelle Yeo, Chief Knowledge Officer. So there's two. They're doing not just innovation, they're also doing knowledge. So they're really taking on board some of the ideas from the course here. Conduct research in waste management, eco-friendly methods and new technologies in the world. Manage knowledge in the company and HRM. And the reason is she's got a mass communication background and an interest in learning and upgrading. So these are a pretty strong team for running this business.
So you finally finished this challenging unit with teacher and students sharing the rewarding journey that was Business Unit BUS378 in 2012.
Yeah, on reflection, it's been a useful process filming the unit. I'm pretty happy with what we've got, and provides a bit of insight into, I guess, my own teaching style with its idiosyncrasies and limitations, but also just interesting to see how the students reacted to different exercises and different propositions that were put to them throughout the semester. And good to see it all coming together in the scenarios both from Australia and Singapore.
It's very important unit, and I reckon all students at the university, they should pick up this unit as elective.